Hello, everyone. It is Friday. I'm in my Beatles shirt here, a little bit casual. Stephen Mead with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help Southern California's renters become homeowners. And this week, for a quick tip, I want to talk about something that's probably a bit more serious, but I really think it's time to have this conversation. And that is housing discrimination and how to sort of spot it, and to recognize it when you see it. And I'm going to kind of give a little bit of my personal opinion on something. I think that homeownership is the best way to improve economic equality. Many of the people that we work with are first generation homeowners, meaning they didn't grow up in a house that their parents owned. And I think that decision and that achievement for these people, I mean, this really changes the trajectory of these families for generations. And when I look back to a lot of the problems that we have today, I think a lot of the problems that we have today can actually be traced back to housing discrimination that occurred decades ago, right? Because those were families that were never given the opportunity. And a lot of people are aware of some of the more common types of housing discrimination, right? So the most common thing you probably think of is, you put in an offer on a house and your offer is not selected purely based on the color of your skin. The sellers just look at the name of the offer and they say something, horrible about, that name and assumptions about race, and they decide to give the house to somebody else. And then you eventually see that it closed for a lower price than your offer. And I think that that's a truly tragic situation. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is that California has additional protections versus federal housing laws. So in federal housing laws, it is illegal to discriminate based upon race, religion, gender. However, there's a lot of extra things in California. Family status is another federal one. So for example, if a seller says we want our home to go to a good family, that is housing discrimination. And we tell our sellers that is not an acceptable reason to choose one offer or another. But some of the extra protections that California has are sexual orientation, gender identity, and probably one of the newest ones is source of income. So this means that if you are involved in a profession that the sellers disagree with, that is not a basis for choosing another offer over yours. And I think these are probably the most common types of discrimination that I think exist out there, right? And I think if you're a buyer, it's easy to spot these, right? Like you see a house close and it went for a lower price than your offer, right? And the person had no money down and you were putting 20% down. I mean, the seller picked it for reasons that were not based on the offer. But there's another type of housing discrimination, and I think this one is probably even more important to think about because it's something that really sort of affects communities in the long run, and it's also very hard to spot. And that is some of the tactics that, not only agents of the past, but as a recent Newsday investigation uncovered on Long Island, New York, practices that obviously still exist today. And that is agents that attempt to do things like steer clients towards particular areas, say things to clients like, oh, I don't think that's a good area for you, or choose to not send them homes that meet all the requirements and are in their price range from certain areas. I think as an agent and as a brokerage owner, I think, we strive every day to constantly examine and look and make sure that we're not doing those things, that we are treating people fairly, equitably, and making our recommendations based on price ranges, amenities, and not where we think people should live. And I can tell you as an agent, that is actually hard to do sometimes, and not for necessarily even nefarious reasons. I think sometimes agents have to remind themselves that we are here to help you find the best house for you, not the house that we think is the best house for you. And, something that I'm fond of telling clients is at the end of the day, I'm not the one who writes the check for the mortgage every month. The client is the one who's doing that. And ultimately, this choice is about them. My job is to help facilitate things. It's not to tell people what to buy or what not to buy. Anyhow, obviously, as always, we welcome your questions, your comments. We're committed we're committed to really fighting housing discrimination because, like I said, I think equal opportunity housing and homeownership is really the number one way to reach economic equality. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you again next week.